Hey there viewers, and welcome back to the Self-Made Auto Channel. Gonna be kicking it old school again, some classic SMA, back to our roots, the brake job. 2013 Toyota, it's the Sienna. The guy dropped it off over the weekend because this wheel set itself to boil. That's a brake caliper locked right up tight on this thing and really smoked up there, so he didn't dare drive it any further, so he left it here. Just to be sure, I took it for a drive yesterday before I pulled it in, before I went home. And indeed, by the end of Main Street and back, I put it on the lift. You couldn't even turn this front wheel. It was locked up so tight. You can move it now, that cool back down. While it was locked up, what I did is I cracked the bleeder loose. So that's going to tell you if your problem is in your brake hose or if your problem is in your caliper, or rather, if the problem's in your hydraulic system, which typically is a collapsed brake hose. If you crack your bleeder loose and all of a sudden your wheel's freed up again, you got a problem in the hydraulic side holding the brakes on. If you crack the bleeder loose and there's no hydraulic pressure in that caliper and it's still locked up, it's either in the caliper or the pads are locked up in the brackets from rust. That's gonna be pretty regional specific. But in this case, he needs new calipers. I called down to our local napper dealer. I said, why don't you sponsor us? They said, because you give us all the free advertisement we need. Probably true. So we got some new calipers. The calipers on this thing don't look OG. Matter of fact, they look like some black Napa calipers that are on the thing. Or black calipers of some sort. In either case, you want to do both of them, which I think is the wise bet to do. So we have some here. I don't know if we just did that other, I need to save the baggie because we need to get the little doodads out of it there. We got ourselves some silent guards. Been installing these pads for lots of years. They had good success with them. For the price, they seem to be good. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna assemble all of this, then we're gonna pull the wheels off. Hopefully it doesn't bite us. Hopefully the calipers are correct. Foolish way of doing things. But I like living on the edge. About all our hardware. I like to use the hardware that comes with the pads and not the hardware that comes with the calipers. Oh, that wasn't very tight, Napa. That one was. Doesn't really matter, you have to pull these off. Anywho. Make sure our pins move, they're probably need some lube. I like to give, anytime you get a reman caliper, kind of give her a look over. Make sure you don't see any funny business before you get too far. Let's grab us a rag. We'll just, oh, what in the world is that? I don't know. And also, just because it's new, or new, we'll use that term loosely, don't count on the fact that these pins are all lubed. I've taken them apart before out of reman calipers and they're full of rust or full of some kind of cleaning media, old grease, you name it. So we always give them a pull out. They're not very, liberal with their greasing here. See, like this one here, you see how the rubber's shoved up on it. So in this case, you just take that rubber and you just pretend you didn't see that. It's kind of unnecessary, but that's why you pull these things apart. Because that's what you'll find often. You know, remanufactured calipers, you get what you get. I hate to say it, but we're saying it. I've been around the block a time or two, folks. We're gonna put just a dab of silicone grease on each pin so we can assure they're properly lubricated. And then we're gonna get it up around the top here as well where the rubber boot locks on, because that'll kind of seal that in there. Or seals that boot off when you put the boot down. Great, now we created a really good seal. You don't want that. You don't want your pin pushing back out on itself. Get our boot to go up on there. That's the problem we have right here. It creates a little hydraulic piston. So we're gonna have to address that. Because believe it or not, that can actually lock your brakes up. You can believe me or not. A little chunk of that rubber still in there. Usually the pins with the flats cut in them. See, this one has very few flats. It has a little flat here, it has 3 flats, where that pin had flats all the way up. Usually if they have the flat cut in them, you don't have to worry about the grease creating a little piston, you know, sealing it off and allowing it to come back out, because if it has the flats cut in it, it won't. Sometimes just wiggling it, let the air escape. All right, we're gonna go with trick number 2. Meemaw's trick number 2. I'm gonna go stick this in the vise and just hold it for a certain period of time, let the air kind of escape from there, and because we really need to prevent that. Just like that, it works. So not hard to do. Like I say, just stick it in the vise, use a pair of C-channel vice grips or something, just to squish them down, and then you'll see the boot will, you know, puff up as the air comes by, and then just use your little screwdriver or your little pick, just lift up the lip of that boot where we have it sealed, and burp the baby, they call it. If you read it in the service data, it's called burping the baby. That may or may not be true. We're going to use some Silly-Ramic, what's left of it. We're just about out. Order the new tube. Good up to 3,000 degrees. However, I think your rotors are made out of cast. And they will typically turn to liquid around 2,200 degrees-ish. But rest assured, if you turn your rotors to liquid molten lava, that this grease will still be doing what the grease does. Even when your rotors are turned into magma. Or down to -50. So I like to grease behind the abutment hardware, as many of you know if you've seen one of the 3,000 brake job videos we've done. In the rust belt, this is very important. Because this is what gives your pads, as they call it, the big squeeze. Now we have to play the hardware game. Get our clips on here. There's one. We can just randomly grab another one. There's 2. Well, look at that, we're doing 3 for 3. There's 3, now we gotta grab the last one. Oh, look at that, you got it first try. So that's how your hardware goes on these brackets. Easy peasy. Let's see which caliper we have here. These are front mounted calipers on this car. Okie dokie. This one here is for the driver's side. Like so. How many anti-squeal clips do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeehaw. We are going to put them on the leading edge. So that's your little, takes up the space. It is not a wear indicator. We're still going to put them on the leading edge of the pad. Like so. And then we're going to start the fight. These can be a little tricky. Because they're going to have a little bit of pressure on them. Kind of hold their hardware in. Get them lined up. Push, push, push. Not happening. We're going to go with the non-springy side in first. These things can be a real pain in the hoo-hoo. We just don't want it to all fly apart. Oh gosh dang it. And here it does. This guy needs to practice his brake job videos a little better. They naturally want to push themselves right out. Okay, whoa dude. You keep right where you're at, and then we'll do the same thing on this pad. So, like I say, it has a fair amount of pressure on it. Keeps the pads from making noise, rattling in their brackets. Slipped in ever so nicely. We'll prepare the caliper. This guy's gonna have to go upstairs and get a new tube. Grease our metal to metal contact points. If you're using OEM Toyota pads on this, there would be a whole nother process of greasing up your shims. We definitely want to make sure we get those. Metal pistons, so we'll just dab the face of the pistons. Keep them from getting crusty rusty and hopefully stop any squealage. Alright, yeehaw, now the hard part. This is where we decide whether or not we put it together right here or we put it together on the car, because we need to put the anti-drag clips in. And this usually doesn't work like this because the whole mess is going to want to fly apart on us. Well, we're going to give it a try. At this point, it would be advisable to mount the caliper bracket onto the vehicle. But we like living dangerously. I like to fling my pads on the floor 5 or 6 times before I call it. Come on, baby. Are we not even going to drop it once? One of the anti-drag clips is hung up in the hole of the caliper, which is not very handy. There we go. Wow. Huzzah. If you don't want to piss around doing it this way, like I say, mount your bracket and put your pads and your anti-drag clips on there. Then put your caliper on. Make sure our pads are sitting nice and straight. Grab our torque wrench, torque it to spec. There's one. There's 2. Sounded like a spec to me. All right, you can see our anti-drag clips sitting up in the top of the bracket, or in the top of the caliper. Everything's mounted. A good to go. Well, that's interesting. Let me just see something here. Yeah, okay. I just see this one has an L stamped on it. Oh, duh. Let's edit that part out. I'm like, but it goes on the driver's side. Here's this guy. Wow. It's too early in the morning. Let me throw that one together in the same fashion. We do need to get our copper washers out of here. There it goes. I'm like, why has that got an L on it? It's not on the left side. All right, so there's that. There's that, step 1. Remove the wheel. Ooh, too crusty. Be careful. Be careful. Let's get our pan, our little drip pan. And then let's peel the hose off. Prior to doing that though, get everybody upset. Bust out these babies. They are hose pinch pliers. They're for pinching hoses. According to the internet, I just totaled the car. I don't believe that's true. I believe that is also not a 12 millimeter. Let's go get the 11 mil. Round 2. I'd have you around here where you could see, but what kind of video would that be, huh? We just removed the banjo bolt from the banjo. Banjo bolt. Okay? We're letting the caliper PP down into the pan. We'll stick the banjo bolt back in it. That way we can throw it back in the box, and then there's just 2 bolts. We pull the whole caliper bracket all one shebang. The big shebang. I'm gonna be using the Toothcracker 9000, the 17 mil swivel socket from Astro Tools. I don't know what it is about swivel sockets. That thing gets to wobbling like that, it gets you. Usually right in the mouth for some reason. There, look at that, no casualties. Both bolts have been removed. Grab your pry driver. Take your caliper off, go stuff it in one of the boxes at random. I know which one it goes in. Grab your muffs. Not your muff, your muffs. Grab the air hammer. Massage it gingerly. Remove your muffs. Oh, there you go, you crusty. Give the old hub a polish. That's rust stuck in there. Give it a little blow for good luck. Look around for your fluid film can. Once you find it, spray it. Install the rotor. Grab an old axle nut for taking up space. I was like an old axle nut back in school. Just taking up space. At least according to most of my teachers, I was. We're going to take the 2 bolts that we removed. We're using the Permatex Thread Locker Orange Gel, not a sponsor. Squeeze a little on there. Rub your 2 bolts together. Get a little bit on each one. Okay. Now that that's on there, we grab, whoa guys, that's a little close for comfort, our preloaded caliper assembly. This one is marked with an R. Reminds me of a joke, but we've said it too many times on this show. Bing bong, bing bong. Get our bolts lined up in our caliper bracket back here. Okay. Grab the Uggy Duggy gun. Put your torque setting numero uno. Very lightly snug-a-dug them. Just about till they touch. We could have went to torque setting 1.5. That was a little in the weak sauce, but we don't want to go too tight. break out your Torquey, turn it on, crank her up to 77. I think that's what the specs were. There's 80. Back her off a couple clicks. Get up in here. There's that. Make a little funny face when you do it. Get your socket back. 81.6 is where we ended. Close enough, right? There's that, and that's it. We're home free. We look at our banjo. We grab our banjo bolt with our new copper washers. One on the outside, one on the inside. Thread her in. See if this one's an 11 or a 12. Looking like a 12. Survey says 12. Tighten it up till it's snug, or if you're making a YouTube video, you'll tighten it to, I believe it's 22. Usually these banjo bolts, we always just tighten them down until they're snug, until they don't leak. Remove your hose pinchy pliers. Remove the rubber cap from said bleeder. Take your 8mm, crack it for 240. Grab your rubber hose. Well, that's pretty gnarly looking. It shouldn't throw it in the bucket. Wipe off the tip. Stick your rubber hose on the end of the bleeder, and then we wait. What are we waiting for? Gravity, my friends, gravity. We're gravity bleeding it. Let the caliper slowly fill up. Once it's full, we pump the brakes, get our pistons to come out, come back, crack our bleeders, call it a day. Why candy? Let's find us some fluid. Oh, got a brand new jug right here. Just ran out the other day. So we'll open this little guy up. Make sure you get all your foil off there. You don't want that in a brake system, I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that, he says. Alright, that's all the loose pieces. Somebody must have recently done a brake fluid flush on this thing, because the brake fluid coming out of it was crystal clear. Alright, that's full enough for the time being. We'll pump it up and have to double check it, of course, because it'll go down as the pistons come out. Let me see if that other one's dripping, and we'll close the bleeder. I reached in with a long bar, we pumped the brakes. Oh, we're actually right at the max line. So we need to add no more fluid. To do that, whoa, drop your wrench. Close the hood. Call it a day. Prior to calling it a day though, we just want to crack our bleeders loose, see if there's any air at the top. A little bit there. And then back to straight fluid. We'll check our other side. Usually there's a little bit of air after gravity bleeding and then getting your pistons out. A little bit right there. And then back to straight fluid. If you feel inclined to do so, you can go through and bleed your little heart out. That's been my experience over a few 10,000 or so brake jobs. Gravity bleeding, pumping the pedal, get the pistons back out. Any remaining air is going to rise to the top, crack your bleeder loose. Robert's your mother's brother. Rarely, and I mean rarely, do we have an issue that way with a soft pedal or anything of that nature. Contact. Oh, 211. She just getting broke in. Here we are, late October. Today's predicted temperature is in the 80s. here, take our regular brake route that we often do. Hang a Louie on the maple. Sidewalk repair action going on there. Something else going on up here. That's it, folks. The brakes are buttery smooth, no longer locking up, which is great, and the guy can get back home with it wherever he lives. That's that. It's kind of an emergency repair. Now I've got to bring in that Jeep Wrangler and do a heater core. Awesome. You can see the excitement in my face. Not excited, but I'll do it because that's what needs to be done. You do what you need to do. One of you guys do what you need to do in that comment section. Questions, concerns, find us on Insta, Facebook. Just my reviewers. If I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.